Hi guys, this video is going to be the first one in a new devlog series for my second game. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to show you where the inspiration has come from, because I was going to do Flappy Bird at first, but I've been working through this tutorial in a book that I've been studying, and that's developed a very, very simple game with a very simple mechanic, and I quite like the mechanic in it. So let me just switch over to my code editor, and then you'll be able to see what this is. So we've got a cannon over here. So this is rotated by the mouse movement. So this is mainly a mouse-based game. But if I press a key, it fires these balls out, and then the further you are from the cannon, sort of that shows the power of the ball. And then you can press the RGB keys to change things to different kind of colors. So that's it. That's basically all the game is. So it's not finished yet, I don't think. There's no scoring in there, but I think that comes in the next chapter. So I don't particularly like this game, but I liked the mechanic of the cannon. So what I wanted to do is have some kind of game. I wanted to keep it really, really simple. So if you boil down the essence of what it is, you've got a rotating cannon that fires, doesn't have to be a cannon, but something that fires some kind of projectile at some kind of target. Now, one of my difficulties is that I'm not an artist, and so in any game project that I try to do, the concept that I can come up with is going to be restricted by the assets I can find. So I can't draw my own assets from scratch. So I started having a look around, and I managed to find some assets for like cities and buildings and stuff like that. So what I came up with is an idea where you've got buildings. If I actually show you the assets, if I turn my screen back on. I'm in the wrong place. Right. So yes, I've got some assets here. So I found these buildings, and I thought where you've got the windows here, if I just scale that up, you could have like a face coming out of a window. And I've got some, this is still the wrong folder. Sorry. I was in the right folder, and now oh my God. Presumably, at some point, I will actually get better at doing Google videos as well as doing YouTube videos, as well as doing the game dev itself. So I found these backgrounds here for cities, and I thought they looked pretty cool. So this is on CraftPick, so these ones are free. And I thought maybe I can take that, modify the colors a little bit, and have that as some kind of backdrop, and then put in these. So if I have, these were actually all broken down. So I quite like the blue one. So obviously this is like the finished version. I think that looks quite nice, but it's a little bit dark. But obviously it's designed for parallax scrolling, but I thought I can still use this to construct my own thing. I just have to do a little bit of editing, and then the buildings came from a zombie game, funnily enough, but I just liked all the different kind of buildings there, and I thought I could have, yeah, these faces that come in. So I managed to find a few different variations of faces. So this is something I don't think I could do this kind of pixel art myself, but to be honest, again, it's just a practice project. It doesn't matter. So I thought I could kind of try to create something where you've got faces in a building and you're shooting something at them. So I did find, where is it? I found, not that one, this cannon here. And this is actually animated. Unfortunately, it doesn't show it here, but it fires. And I thought, okay, that's perfect. So I can fire something. So what am I shooting at the buildings? I don't know. So I had, first of all, I was thinking, do I want to, like throw bombs at them for some reason, or chuck eggs at them or something? And I thought, no, I'll try and do something that's a little bit kind of nicer. And so what I came up with, if I just click on her, is some kind of like wizard type character, and what she's firing is like magical orbs, and she's actually trying to help the people in the buildings. And so I thought, perhaps, you know, if someone in the building is feeling sad, she can fire an orb of joy and make them feel better and that kind of thing. So I came up with the idea of orbs, because they'll still kind of have that round arc maybe, and this kind of like wizardy character. And again, all of this was based simply on what I could find. I thought I need some kind of character that's finding something, and I found this. I don't know if I'd use the animations, but if you have a look, she's also got like firing animations. This was actually designed for an RPG game. I got like male and female versions, but whatever. Again, because I'm not an artist, I have to kind of make do with what I can find. And so yeah, so that's kind of what I came up with. So I've given the game a name of Orbarella. So that's supposed to kind of sound a little bit female, and it's a play on the word orb. And yeah, so that's kind of the basic idea. And she's going to try to make these people feel better by firing these orbs at them. So the first challenge that I have is trying to get the various graphics into my game in some way. So let me show you what I've done there. So this is the first version. If you go back to the city, so I'm using city 3 here. So the original backdrop, let's just show a bigger version. The original backdrop, this kind of occupies the entire screen, and obviously it's quite dark. So what I've done is I've done some editing, and I've changed the colours. They still need more work, and I've moved it up so that we've got this blank area down the bottom, and that'll be kind of like where the game is played. This little bit at the bottom that is supposed to be kind of like a street, it looks shit. I'll need to change that. All right. So the next thing I've done is I've tried to put one of those houses in. Obviously, I've just chucked it anywhere. As you can see, it's absolutely tiny. You can't really play something like that. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to kind of scale it up. So what I'd done here is I had scaled it up to... Oh my God, why can't I type to 4? And then if I show you how that looks scaled up there. So now we've got something that we can probably play with. So then I've added in the cannon. Now there's actually 2 parts to that cannon, not that part. So it's not that one. I'm just trying to show you this in sections. I should have done this yesterday when I was working on it. So now we've got this cannon, and it's actually in 2 different parts. And again, I've had to kind of scale it up. And then the last thing I've done was put in the wizard, priestess, whatever she is. If I just show you her. Yeah, there we go. So obviously the scaling all looks a bit weird. I mean, she's taller than the door. But it doesn't matter. You know, I don't want to spend my time fiddling around with artwork. And in actual fact, I spent hours yesterday fiddling around with some of this artwork. I had to mess around with the cannon. I might do a little video on that actually. But this is what I've got so far. And already I'm thinking, how is this actually going to play? Because at first I was thinking a bit like the paint can game, where you've got this kind of like this stationary cannon which fires things over here. But then what are we doing with the rest of the screen? It doesn't really make sense. So I think what I'll probably do is have maybe several buildings, and then she can move the cannon around and fire people. So that's all I've got right now. So hopefully in the next part I'll have something more to it. So I'll just leave it there for now. I've made a little bit more progress on my game today. So I've got the some movement going now. It's just like a bit of a static thing, and I've also got some rotation on the cannon. Now, one of the things that I did, you can sort of do that as you're moving along. I've got a new street base on there now, so I think that looks a little bit better. I had to, if I just go to my texture thing. what I decided to do in here was actually scale up the sprite. So instead of this being a 32 pixel high and square sprite, I've actually scaled it up to 96 because I had it scaled up 3 times in the game. And similarly with the actual Canon sprites, I've scaled them up to be bigger because it was just easier to handle. Oh, what's it called? The scaling inside the game was just a bit of a pain, and when I was looking at how I was going to do animation, which I want to do later because all of these sprites are animated, it was just going to be a bit of a pain. Now, what I've done is I've created a player class, but it's got those 3 different objects in it because I want the wizard, I want her and the cannon to move as one unit. And so one of the things that I did was when I was doing the clamping, at first it was going off the edge of the screen there, and I thought, oh, I've got the bounds wrong. So I created myself a texture, which is literally just the size of the screen, all in grey. And then I put in just a quick, where's my draw? A bounds test, and all it does is it draws that texture but to the rectangle of the bounds as I had calculated it, so I could see where I got it wrong. So if I show it now, you can see this is now the bounds of the object, which is correct, and so that's clamping there. And when I did it initially, the rectangle was in a completely different place and it wasn't moving properly with the player, so I knew I had a problem with my calculation. So that was just a simple little test that I was able to do. So I think that's something that I'll use to help me out. And also with the rotation, I had quite a lot of trouble with this, with how it looks. So if I allow it to rotate all the way over to the other side, so I'm just going to put that as -90. I've done my angles a little bit strange. I've kind of defined it so that the 0 angle means facing upwards. I know it's not quite how it should be, but it just makes it easier for me to get my head around how it works. So that will allow it to rotate the other way, but of course it doesn't look right because it's very obvious that it's this little bit at the top. It just shows that it's the top, so that just doesn't look right at all, and the cannon is now facing into her. So I just don't think that looks good, and I think what would be better would be if she's going in this direction, you can rotate it up to here, but then really if she then goes the other direction, the cannon should be on the other side of her, but it doesn't really work for that kind of graphic. So this is the cannon that I'm using at the moment, and you can see it's got the animation there for fire, but that's all. But this one here. Now this one has got an animation for turning around, but I still not sure how it would work in my game because I would have to move her. So to be quite honest, I think this is one of those situations where I'm kind of getting lost in the weeds a little bit. It doesn't matter. I just wanted something simple. And also in that painter game, if I just bring that up, actually, where's my recording thing? So this was the demo which had first kind of inspired it, but the barrel, the cannon thing here, is actually controlled by the mouse, and I didn't like that. Well, at first I thought I did, but then when I've tried to put it into my game, I thought, no, do you know what? It doesn't work. And so what I've done instead is just do it keyboard controlled, which I prefer. So basically it's like the WSA and D. So A and D moves left and right, and then you just use the Q and E to rotate around. And I just think that's kind of better. It just feels better to me. So that's all I've got so far, just some movement and rotation. So next I'm going to want to have something that allows an actual orb to be in there and then fire it, and then I'll have some targets to fire at.